Hello and welcome. Here we are inside La Liga with LaLiga Insiders. Gemma Soler and Rodrigo Faz. The day when it became official, Casemiro will no longer be stealing balls in La Liga and will head on to walk a different path. And Rodri, there's a new river in Madrid, no? That one created by the tears left by the Madridistas today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, Fernando. Thank you very much. Yeah, everyone is crying because Casemiro is so close to the people that everyone is sad here, like watching something that no one expected at the beginning of the season. So finally, he's going to Manchester. So enjoy, Man United, a great guy who's going to.
Gemma, Barcelona's birthday present to Robert Lewandowski might have been the awakening of Ansu Fati.
Yes, it was such a great birthday for Lewandowski. We will be talking about what he explained to us exclusively on ESPN later on the show, but it was such a relief as well for the team, for Xavi, for Lewandowski, and for the fan base to see that Ansu Fati version that he looks like at his best. So it's so comforting for everyone, and there's back the excitement, that excitement before the opening game against Rayo.
Let's go over the topics we were talking about in this exciting episode of La Liga Insiders. A strong performance by Real Madrid at Balaidos. Once again, a penalty for Carlo Ancelotti's side. That one opened up the scoring, and it was left off to Luka Modric to kind of unravel what Real Madrid were going to bring to Celta's ground with a great goal by the veteran who was actually given a standing ovation. One should have been given as well to Robert Lewandowski, who did not take long to open up the scoring for Barcelona at San Sebastian with a goal at the 44-second mark. The first one of two for the Polish striker. And talking about a strike, well, Atletico de Madrid struck out at home playing against Villarreal. It was a 2-0 victory for Unai Emery's side, and a convincing victory that was for the Yellow Submarine. So there's worries at the Metropolitano as far as Atletico de Madrid fans goes. We're going to talk about that and once the show progresses. But let's start, Rodri, with Real Madrid's performance at Balaidos. Convincing 4-1 win. What a goal by Luka Modric. The debut for Tchouaméni. So many things to talk about, but I think we're going to concentrate on what we saw in the Frenchman in the officially the first game in the post-Casemiro era.
Yeah, everyone was like, okay, Casemiro is leaving to Manchester United, so what's next for Real Madrid? We've paid more than 80 million euros for a guy who no one knows here in Spain, called Aurélien Tchouaméni, and Tchouaméni proved what they paid for him, and he proved that why Liverpool, PSG, and Real Madrid were behind him. I think he proved that he has physical skills, and mostly he proved that he, beside his age, because he's only 22 years old, he has present. He has future, but he has present, and that's the best thing for Carlo Ancelotti, because he is someone really powerful. He's someone that defends a lot, and he really defends well. But he tries to attack, and he tries to associate with Luka Modric, with Valverde, with Camavinga. And the thing is that he's so young, and if you compare him with Camavinga, that maybe Real Madrid, which is what my sources tell me from the club, they think that they're gonna have Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Valverde is gonna be the new CMK once Modric, Casemiro, and Toni Kroos are leaving Real Madrid. When they leave or when they retire, they will have the next best midfielder of the world of football. So that's why everyone is glad and happy with Tchouaméni's performance.
With the fascination in naming lines on a football pitch, Gemma, I don't know if we can start trademarking the Chewbacca. Why not? Right? Tchouaméni, Valverde, Camavinga, Chewbacca. No, that really works for Madrid.
Yeah.
But it's a day that, well, we definitely expected to come. It caught many by surprise to see that the first one to lead this historic trio would be Casemiro.
Yeah, but this is such a team with a lot of story. They have been playing together. It works like an engine, and it has three gems in that team, in that Ancelotti squad. This is Thibaut Courtois, Luka Modric, and Karim Benzema. If the three gems are there, the engine is going to work. And if you put to that gems such a talented youngsters and additions like Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Valverde, that we can start considering the El Pajarito, the little bird, as we call it in Uruguay, well, that should be the eagle or something like that. It's like a super top additions to a team that was already working very well. And especially if you have such a security in the goal like Thibaut Courtois and a striker that inspires and attracts so many defenders like Karim Benzema, I think it has to be considered the favorite in Spain in La Liga, definitely.
Overall, was it a 4-1 defeat with as convincing a evolution of football, Rodri, as the result suggests, or was it more troublesome than it seems? 4-1 seems like one see the results line and we can tell, well, yes, Real Madrid won that game and won it convincingly, but was it that convincing of a performance?
Yeah, I think so. I think Real Madrid started this season as they finished last season. I mean, they are really practical team. I mean, I know, and they know what to play, and they know each other perfectly because the collective is upper the individuality. So that's why Real Madrid really worked in a nice progression, because once Casemiro left, you got Tchouaméni, which, I mean, we know he's still very young, but he fits perfectly in the second leg of the season as he was here for ages. So that's why I think Real Madrid were really practical in terms that playing, in terms of attacking. Once Real Madrid has with Modric the association with Benzema or with Vinicius, who is in shape once again, I mean, they're unbeatable right now at the moment. Let's see if Barca is able to fight against 101 for the La Liga title by the end of the season. But Real Madrid is really strong at the moment, and they look to be like the main favorite to win the title at the end of the season.
Well, Barcelona put itself to the task yesterday in San Sebastian, on Sunday in San Sebastian against Real Sociedad. One player missing, Gemma, and one player missing was enough to change the whole system. Now we're seeing Barcelona with three-man backfield, four in the middle, Frenkie de Jong having to be accompanied in different points of the game by either Gavi or Pedri dropping back. Does it create so much confusion just to the fact that Busquets is not there on the field, that it has to create a whole different model of playing? Or are we going to see this 3-4-2-1 model on the field more often?
Yeah, we will be seeing that, Fer, because things are starting to change. For once, Xavi was able to do a pre-season. He has been able to work with this team, and he has to prepare as well for the future and for a team without Sergio Busquets. This could be happening. I mean, it's very likely that it will be happening next season. So he's preparing for that, but at the same time, he needs immediate results, but because there was so much pressure in this team's shoulders after that disappointing 0-0 draw in the opening game against Rayo. It's a team with so many pieces that need to melt down. They need patience, they need work, they don't have that. So it's kind of complicated. We will be talking about what Lewandowski explain us about that game about Rayo a little later on. It has a lot to do. A new system, it takes time, but at the same time we saw something very interesting in the Real Arena, is that they were able to deal with that pressure. We went back to see the best version of Marc-André ter Stegen. He was kind of doubtful last season. Balde, this alternative to Jordi Alba, he felt comfortable in the field. For the first time in more than a decade, we could see a Barcelona without his four captains, without Busquets. It's true that he would have been available, he would be in the field, but there was no Busquets, no Piqué, no Sergio Roberto. So it's something, no Gerard Piqué, of course. So many change. He has so many center backs. I think we will be seeing that system 3-4-3 again, and of course, eventually that quality in the final third with Lewandowski, with an inspiring Ansu Fati. It was the end of the game. It was that quality that decided this 4-1 victory, the first one in the season for Barcelona.
Now, Rodri, with all these pieces that Barcelona has available for the upcoming season, it will be hard to imagine a starting 11 being repeated from one game to the next. We see two different models in the first two games, so many changes in formation, and with the current pieces available, I do not really want to be in Xavi's shoes right now.
Well, it's something that the Xavi asked for last season. He said, and he complained about that in some press conference, that he didn't have the players that he wanted to, and that he needed something more and something else. So now that he have the players, and now that the club with Laporta, with Mateo Alemany, they made the effort to reinforce the team, now he couldn't complain. I mean, this is something that Xavi wanted. So that's why, depending on the rival, I think, and I'm pretty sure that he will change depending on the rival Barcelona will face. But this is something good for Barca. I mean, it's a great problem for Xavi to choose in between Lewandowski, Rafinha, Dembele, Ansu Fati. This is something that last year it was impossible for him. So that's why I guess that Xavi might be happy with that. He has to be glad with the squad that finally he has, and with the people that are still to come, because I think that left wing and Kounde, that has to be registered yet, they will come this week. So that's why I think he's happy, he's glad, and he has a great challenge for him, because now that he has the players that he wanted, now that the players the Barca signed that no one expected by the end of June or by the end of May, they arrived to Barcelona. So that's why it's going to be a great challenge for Barca and even for Xavi to choose in between those players and to change depending on the rival, to see if finally they're going to be good enough to face Real Madrid.
So when you think about it, Gemma, it's been only one game with this current formation. We're not going to criticize the model or talk about the model too much, as if we've only seen one game. If you can pick three players that have approved their test in San Sebastián, who would those three players be, outside of the obvious, brace scoring Robert Lewandowski or the dynamic presence of Ansu Fati in the last half hour of the game?
Three players that I think they had a successful game in San Sebastián, and it will bring them some kind of reward in the future. One, it will be definitely Balde. We will be talking later what can be happening with Marcos Alonso, because the operation can be kind of complicated, but he was impressive. This young talented player. He will be a big competence, I think, for Jordi Alba if Xavi decides to stick with him. So he definitely was one of the other ones. It might surprise you a little bit, the one I'm gonna say, but I'll say Frenkie de Jong, even though he has that mistake that ends up with the goal of Real Sociedad, Alexander Isak, but it was not an easy game to play the position of Sergio Busquets with the new system, with everything. And I think at the end, if you see the whole game, he kind of succeed as well there. So I'm gonna definitely say Frenkie de Jong. And it's not that he needs to fight for his position, but as I mentioned earlier, the best version of Marc-André ter Stegen, it's something very important for Barcelona. A game that a team that plays so attacking, they need a security in the back, as Thibaut Courtois is so important for Real Madrid. Marc-André ter Stegen is the same for Barcelona.
I kind of hate what I'm going to do now, Gemma, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Don't consider Ferran Torres's cost to Barcelona, a transfer that was valued at 55 million euros. Don't think about that. Don't think about what Aubameyang could bring to Barcelona if he were sold. Just think about what they have done on the pitch for Barcelona since they have been teammates at the club. So I'm apologizing for putting you on the spot. Who would you stick with if you had to make a decision?
It's a very tough one. Thank you, Fernando. For one, it's very difficult to compare because one has been a full season, and so I don't know. And one, I think we cannot compare because they are very different players. One is young, the other one is a consolidated player, Aubameyang. So maybe if I talk of what I've seen in the field, of course I would say Aubameyang because he arrived and it was impressive from the very beginning and very convincing. But I know Xavi has seen something special in Ferran, and I think Xavi already proved ourselves that he has an eye for what Barcelona needs, and I think the fan base needs to trust the coach. So if Xavi has that idea with Ferran Torres, I think it's because he has something special, and I think Barcelona now is a team that needs to think on the future. So that's maybe why I would stick with Ferran Torres, which is a player that will be also especially important for Spain national team, and I think that might be helping. I mean, when Spain goes well, Barcelona goes well. Let's go to South Africa, to that Barcelona Guardiola. So it's a tough question, but I'll stick with Ferran Torres.
That's why I was apologizing at the beginning, because I knew it was a tough question. But if you only thought about what's going on the field, there's something that Xavi is seeing that I'm not. But I'm, of course, just here, and Xavi's on the field, watching every single practice. So we'll trust his vision so far, at least so far. Now, as far as trusting people in Madrid, on the other side of Madrid, the Atletico side of the capital of Spain, they have definitely all the trust put forth on Diego Simeone. They believe in him. They know what he's doing. They have trusted the process before, and it has resulted in titles. Now, from what we saw against Villarreal, how much of that trust was lost at the fact that they were actually letting the opponent, the visiting side, carry on with the possession, take care of the ball, control the field. And they were just waiting and waiting and waiting, and it kind of exasperated the fans at the Metropolitano.
Yeah, all the fans are kind of disappointed with Atletico Madrid's performance this weekend. They don't really understand why Atletico Madrid is struggling again, and they are not able, as they did last season, to get 2 wins in a row. They understand that maybe Villarreal, who is playing now Conference League, maybe they have a little bit more of physical shape, but they don't really understand why Simeone doesn't take the team a little bit at the forward. I mean, they have players. They have, for example, 5 strikers like Morata. You got João Felix. You got Antoine Griezmann, Mateus Cunha, Angel Correa. But you don't really use them. You don't really create those chances that they should create. So that's why all the fans are like, okay, in the first game we won without problems at Getafe in the mini derby, and those expectations that Atletico Madrid put at the very first game of the season were completely lost against Villarreal, because Villarreal is a direct rival to get into the Champions League by the end of the season. So that's why everyone was like, okay, why we didn't do what we did in Getafe, and why we have to suffer and struggle against Villarreal another season. So that's why everyone is like, okay, are we gonna see from now on the Atletico Madrid that we saw in Getafe, or are we going to see the Atletico Madrid that faced and lost against Villarreal? That's the doubt now in Atletico Madrid fans. So let's see what finally Simeone makes to try to change this point of view of some supporters that are kind of disappointed disappointed from this weekend's performance in Atletico Madrid.
I'll go easy on you this time around. Atletico de Madrid side against Villarreal was pretty much the same thing that we saw from Atletico last season. Now, given that as a fact, is Simeone still struggling to know who his best 11 players are? Because for the first time in 52 games, he had a complete squad. There was no injuries. There were no suspensions. He will have injuries and suspensions to look for the next time around. As Stefan Savic is injured and Nahuel Molina will be suspended because of that red card. He had no excuses. But yet, he puts this 11 players on the field and they do not perform as expected.
Yeah, well, Atletico's situation is kind of complicated. They have such a demanding coach, and sometime with the years that's why he needs a renewal of the squad, because otherwise they get burned. So they came from 2 years ago, a big success. It was too much. He had such a quality squad the last year, and he was not able to win, to succeed at any point. And it's of course not a good beginning. I think on talking about that game against Villarreal, we have to give a lot of credit to the Yellow Submarine. They performed so well, and the rivals, they have something to say. Of course, they are very important, but it's Diego Pablo Simeone. He brought that team back to life, so he has a lot of credit. And as we were mentioning before, he's the one that is in all the trainings, and so we need to think that he's putting the best squad he thinks he can do. Sometimes he does wrong. Things go wrong, and football has this thing. But we will see. I think Atletico Madrid is such a competitive team, and we will be seeing them. But don't take Villarreal as an underdog or a team that is in that second division, because I think they have such an important squad. They are in their centenary. It's such an important year for them. They have the mentality that Unai Emery gives them, especially when they will be playing away from home, because they won't be able to play at the Ceramica until the end of the year. Jerónimo Rulli, we were talking about the importance of the goalkeepers, is in a great shape. So I think I will give a lot of credit to that Villarreal, to that defeat of Atletico too.
One Villarreal side that could change towards the end of the week if they end up qualifying in Conference League action. If they go past Hajduk Split, that squad might change. It might see some additions to it. Now, let's go back to Atletico de Madrid, Rodrigo. The fact that Alvaro Morata is still around with 2 rounds in, and that Morata and João Felix have started both matches. Does one seem to have enough evidence to understand that Morata will stay and that João Felix will be his partner?
Well, João Felix, 100% he will stay, because there were a lot of rumors in the last 2 weeks saying that maybe Man United was offering more than 132 million euros for the Portuguese guy, but no, he's gonna stay for sure, 100%. With Morata, I'm not really sure about Morata's future, because while summer window transfer is still open, I think there's a little bit of chance for him to leave Atletico de Madrid. And I think that these first 2 games against Getafe and Villarreal, and seeing him at the starting 11, I think it answers to the need of Atletico de Madrid to sell one player, to say, okay, this is someone who is really important for Simeone, this is really important for Atletico de Madrid. Let's see if finally Juventus or whoever team could be around can pay maybe 25 million euros for him to leave Atletico de Madrid, because Diego Pablo Simeone wanted 4 strikers and now he has 5 strikers, so there's one left who could leave Atletico de Madrid. Let's see if Morata, which for me I think is the only guy who has enough name internationally here in Europe to leave Atletico de Madrid, because I see Antoine Griezmann really difficult to leave, because he's one of Simeone's priority. So that's why I think it responds more to to imagine that you go for go shopping to see, okay, he's playing, he's not on the bench, so that's why Atletico Madrid is having him at the starting 11. So let's see what happens in the next 10 days, because I think Alvaro Morata doesn't have secured that he's going to stay in Real Madrid for
We
this
saw him
season.
yesterday when they substituted him. There were a lot of applause coming down from the stands. Maybe some side in the Metropolitano are trying to convince not only Morata to stay, but trying to convince the management to make an effort in making him stay on and wear the red and white. Well, we're going to stay and stick with the insiders information coming up. So now we get ready for insiders. That's a nice little transition to what's coming up next. We're going to start with you, Rodri. Today's announcement. Well, the announcement came on Friday, but today's press conference made it official. Casemiro had to endure the tough task of presenting himself at this sad moment in front of the media and in front of all the Madridistas around the world. One of the best midfielders to ever wear that white shirt, says goodbye and so long, and moves on to a different path.
Yeah, it was a difficult press conference for Casemiro, who is a very sentimental guy, who cried a lot this morning in Real Madrid and made people like Carlo Ancelotti crying. And we saw the Italian coach in tears. The thing is that he admitted on the press conference that he thought that his era at Real Madrid was done. And the thing is that when Real Madrid won La Liga, in that game last season against Espanyol at Santiago Bernabeu, I remember at ESPN position in the pitch side of Santiago Bernabeu, I remember that he was kind of sad. He was isolated completely, and he wasn't with the rest of the squad celebrating, having fun, smiling. You know, the real Casemiro wasn't at that time. And I remember even a guy from the social media department of Real Madrid trying to get him a cell phone to say, hey, could you send a video message for the fans to celebrate La Liga? And he said no. And at that point I said, man, this is not the real Casemiro, the Casemiro that is always joying and he's always smiling. He was like, completely on his own, like thinking about something. And my sources from Real Madrid admitted 2-3 weeks after that moment, right after Champions League final in Paris, that at that moment he realized that he could be out of Real Madrid, knowing that Real Madrid was interested on Aurélien Tchouaméni. So that's why maybe it's a key point for us to know a little bit more of this farewell that leads Casemiro to leave Real Madrid and to get to Man United.
Now, Gemma, moving on, it's a good win for Barcelona, but it's the start of the work week, Monday, and Monday in Barcelona, we don't talk about football, we talk about the offices and the administrative issues that reside around this club. So they win now, but now they have to go back to the office and release some players.
Yeah, they had two priorities. One was win, now is sell. So we're back to the Barcelona offices at the Camp Nou because they need to get rid of 20 million euros at least to be able to register Kounde. We will be talking about the former Sevilla player a little bit later on, but they don't see it that clear. I mean, they were telling us a lot of optimism messages in the previous days. Now we start to see that they get a little bit nervous because the clock is ticking and the transfer window is closing in not so many days, August 31. And that's why that they put on a standby that operation that was really close, that the buy of Marcos Alonso, because they still don't have the security that they will be able to register Kounde. We're talking about players on the market. We're talking about Memphis Depay. There is a problem with salary to get the agreement with Juventus, so the operation right now is stopped. Something similar with Aubameyang. They are in talks with Chelsea, but no agreement yet. And the player says that he wants to stay. Something similar to what Dest and Braithwaite, two players that are completely left out from the squads of Xavi. they say that they don't want to put it easy to Barcelona, and possible buyers are aware of Barcelona's desperate situation. So for Barca, it's difficult to get money for that players that everyone knows that they need to sell.
Now, Rodri, going back to Atletico Madrid, one sees, with the developments on the field, and one sees that there's some disruption with the team. But now when you see that on the field issues translate to off the field events, then you're starting to wonder whether that is not systematic or symptomatic of deeper problems. Mario Hermoso goes over to the stands, or close to the stands, approaches the stands and confronts the fans. That's not the good sight.
Sure, it wasn't a good moment for the fans and even for Mario Hermoso, because when the game was over, we know that the players, there are no starters in every game, and we've seen it not only in Atletico Madrid but in the rest of the teams of La Liga. They go on the pitch and they start to warm up, or to end up the warm up in order to refresh the muscles and all these things with the Profe Ortega. And there were people like Felipe Hermoso, Antoine Griezmann, and even Mario Hermoso or Saúl. And suddenly, some people that were still on the stands from the Fondo Sur, they started to insult Antoine Griezmann. And Mario Hermoso came up and said, "Hey, calm down with Antoine Griezmann. He's uno di noi. He's one of us. So calm down with him." And suddenly, all those people got in anger with Mario Hermoso, who started to receive so many insults, calling him Madridista and some other bad words. And he, instead of saying like, "Okay, I'm gonna calm down," he said, "What?" And he went straight to the stands and he faced the guys that were insulting him. So that's why Saúl and Kondogbia, they had to try to get Mario Hermoso and put it behind the stands to separate from the fans, because it was going to be one of the saddest moments of the season. Besides, we're only in the second leg of La Liga. So that's why everyone in Atletico Madrid is like, okay, we're facing a difficult week, so let's calm down a little bit and let's focus only on the pitch side of Atletico Madrid that needs to win in Valencia next week.
There's a lot of investigation. An investigation has started and then will be carried on, as objects were also thrown onto the field while the game was going on. Let's go back to Barcelona. Gemma, you kind of touched over the Jules Kounde topic. He hasn't played. It's been 2 weeks already. What's going to happen with him, and what's happening with him? How is he?
Well, as I was mentioning, there were a lot of messages of optimism regarding to that registering, but now it is not in that way, because let's remember that the board of members, they asked Xavi not to give the squad list until Sunday. They had to travel to San Sebastian to the game at Real Arena, and eventually there was no sale, so no registration for Kounde. That really annoyed the player, because it's not what Barcelona promised him when he had so many teams interested in signing him. Like it was such an agreement close to Chelsea. He decided to pick Barcelona because he believes in the sport direction of that team. But eventually he sees himself at home not being able to play, and no one is giving him a day that he will be able to play. They say that, and they didn't accomplish. So the player is not happy with that. He has a clause that he could be released in case Barcelona are not able to register. There are many options, but what they want to do is to sell players, and we could be talking about this taking more time. So of course, Jules Kounde and his people are not happy with that Barcelona situation. And what my sources tell me is that in the offices at the Camp Nou, there are quite a lot of nerves in trying to rise that operation. They would like to have Kounde registered for the next game against Valladolid, but of course they cannot say for 100% sure that he will be able to be in that squad, of Xavi's squad, for that game.
Two quick ones before we depart. We go back to Atletico Madrid. And we go back to Griezmann topics nowadays. It seems like there's not a summer transfer window without having to talk about Griezmann, Rodri.
Yeah, and with Atletico Madrid related future is going to be even more difficult because Atletico Madrid will have to pay Barcelona 40 million euros if Griezmann, by the end of this 2-year loan option that he signed for with Barcelona, plays more than 50% of the games he's available for. So that's why Atletico Madrid is like, now we have financial problems. We don't have this cash to pay Barcelona, so we will have to sit down with Barca and let's try to find a solution, because if not, it's going to be a real issue for Griezmann, who wants to play for France the next World Cup in Qatar. He wants to play for Simeone. Simeone wants him. He's one of his priorities. So that's why everyone at Atletico Madrid is looking for a solution. I'm not going to say the solution now because even Atletico Madrid doesn't have that solution. So that's why maybe next Thursday or even next Monday we will have a final answer, Fernando, to see what will be Antoine Griezmann's future in order for Atletico Madrid or Barcelona.
Robert Lewandowski with a brace away from home at San Sebastian. 34 years though. That was his birthday during that game, so we all know how he celebrated. But do we know more about Lewandowski's happy birthday, Gemma?
Yes, it was a happy one, and we were able to speak to Lewandowski at the end of the game, and I saw him happy and relieved. And actually, he explained to us that probably they didn't prepare too well that opening game against Rayo Vallecano, and that's why, because it was such a strange week at Barcelona. Let's remember, he was not registered. Most of the signings were not. So he has the feeling that they didn't have the peace, the mental peace, the pace to prepare that game, and maybe that's why it was such a disappointment that game, that nil draw against Rayo Vallecano. Then, the watch was stolen in the training field, but eventually he had a happy ending. He had a happy birthday. He scored twice. His first official goal. He was man of the match, and he got his first win. So it was a happy birthday eventually for Robert Lewandowski.
We're going to finish this off by asking a question. What are two footballers doing with their phones on at 4 a.m.? So Casemiro said goodbye today in his press conference. He actually filled us in with an issue, what players do at 4 a.m. And this is what he said.
Y lo digo una cosa aquí, interna, que Tony me envió un mensaje 4 de la mañana preguntando si me iba, y era verdad que me iba. No estaba enfermo, ¿no? Yo creo que no estaba durmiendo porque estaba enfermo, pero ya luego preguntó a mí si me iba. Y luego contesté a él que si no dormía, oye, si tú no duermes, déjame dormir un poquito. Porque...
Rodri, one has to question the situation. Toni Kroos is sick and grabs the phone at 4 a.m. and then Casemiro is about to leave and has his phone turned on at 4 a.m. What's happening?
Yeah, I understand. I understand that Casemiro has the phone on at 4 a.m. in the morning or in the night, the day before he leaves Real Madrid. I do understand that because it's something that you have to think about, but I don't really understand why Toni Kroos was up at that time in the night. He's not partying because he doesn't really like hang out during Madrid's night, but I might say that, okay, he was ill, sick or whatever, or maybe, I don't know, he was watching a movie or maybe playing PS5. I don't really know. Maybe he was playing FIFA with your voice in the background. Maybe.
As we all do at 4 a.m. Sometimes we just get up and go to the toilet, right? Like a normal person would do. Gemma, we should make a big issue about this. We should actually thank Casemiro for bringing us into his life, at least at 4 a.m. in the morning, what he does at 4 in the morning.
Well, I think it's pretty clear here. He, of course, had the night mode in the phone, but you can put exceptions. So for sure, in Casemiro's life, who have been the two most important men in his side is not the family, is not the kid, is of course Modric and Toni Kroos. So he had that exception. That's why the sound of the phone went on, and of course Toni Kroos was awake as well, thinking, "Oh my God, I'm going to lose one of my best mates in the field and off the field." So I think that might be what happened there.
Gemma Soler and Rodrigo Faez, you can rest assured I will put you into my exceptions when I have the night mode on in my phone, so you can text me at any time during the day. I will still answer it 4 hours later. Thank you very much. This has been LaLiga Insiders. And remember, if you are in the US, if you're in the United States, you can watch all of La Liga on ESPN Plus, all matches, every single one, every single match day is available for you to watch live or on demand on ESPN Plus. So subscribe to the platform and we'll see you there more often. Thank you so much. We'll watch you next time.